Hello and welcome. You have tuned into the In-Betweeners Checkup podcast. My name is Glamuzina. I am fortunate enough to be hosting a meeting with Lotze, who has basically been on quite a journey over the last 12 months. He's going to be sharing what's been happening in his life and how he's kind of been working through that. So stay tuned and enjoy. Awesome. So listen, I guess firstly, thank you very much, Lawrence, for taking the time out. I'm sure you're busy schedule to spend some time having a chat with me. I guess discussing what sort of transpired for yourself over the last 12 months. I think, you know, a lot of people out there often go through things, perhaps not quite as severe as yourself, but there's a tendency to kind of hold it all in. And I guess what I'm keen to do is sort of talk to people around their experiences. So perhaps even when people aren't so forthcoming and sharing their details, that they can sort of get a bit of perspective around what sort of happened and how they might be able to go forward in terms of dealing with things. So firstly, I guess I knew you just as through a podcast you did with Nick, sort of came on and offered some insight into podcasts and then offered to give some value to people who are interested. So I sort of jumped on board and then kind of through that I've kind of found out a little bit more about you. And yeah, I guess last week you kind of mentioned something that kind of took me by surprise, to be fair. And I appreciate you sort of, being willing to share that with me. So perhaps if you want to give us a little bit of a background into what the last sort of 12 months have looked like for you.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt, firstly for inviting me on the show and having my say. So my name is Lotze. I've been helping Matt out, and sort of my passion over the last 12 months or been before that has been just trying to be connecting people, trying to put people in the right place, connecting the right networks between relationships and so forth. And I found that through that sort of passion, I wanted to start myself a podcast series and a podcast brand, which I have launched over sort of 15 months ago, called The Wolf of Queen Street. And I was having a great time building the relationships in this podcast series, building up network circles, actually getting people on my show and us having these discussions when life being life itself threw me a little bit of a curveball, as I say, not from left field, not from right field, but pretty much from out the universe. And that curveball being that in April 2019, I got diagnosed with a brain tumor. Something that I had no idea about up until that stage, nothing that I was aware about other than not feeling my best or the greatest at life, and doing sort of tests a couple of months before that. And yeah, being diagnosed April. So just over 12 months ago exactly, being diagnosed with a golf ball sized brain tumor. And then been told that, hey, you've got to get on board of it pretty quickly. So from there, it was 60 days before my surgery.
Okay. And I guess when you were initially faced with that information, what was your sort of initial reaction?
Well, obviously, you know, being at that stage, I was 34, being overall decently healthy person coming from a sports health background, you know, quite a bit of a shock. You know, you tell anyone, you know, at any stage in their life, hey, you've got something pretty serious. You know, it was a lot to process. It took a lot of time. I'm still working through a lot of it now.
Yeah.
My surgery was on the 26th of June, 2019. I'll never forget the date because, funny enough, it was my 35th birthday.
Oh wow!
So every year on my birthday, I don't just celebrate another year in the sense of a birthday, but I celebrate another year as in I got through something.
Yeah,
and I need to remember something. So
I guess that's a really good way to celebrate life, in essence.
A little bit more than normal, yes, totally. Yes. Yeah. So it's challenging those times. You know, those 30 to 60 days before that moment is challenging for myself. It was for my family, for my wife and myself. We knew very few people outside of a close circle knew about it. I mean, if you go back to my social brand, I recorded a podcast a couple of weeks before it. I recorded a podcast about 3 weeks after the surgery.
Okay.
And no one publicly knew about it. So you go and look at the dates either side of 26th of June, and you notice there's maybe about a month gap and nothing else. And I was trying to, go, hey, it's fine. In one sense going, hey, holy crap, it's chaotic and so forth. And on the other side, publicly going, it's fine. People don't need to know about it. People don't have to be aware about me going through this whole situation, because a lot of times you look at yourself and go, am I that special? Am I that important that I have to, I'm not saying make a big thing about it, but actually publicly speak about it. And it's sort of a turmoil that you go through that time period. And I went through that quite a bit, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, and I think for a lot of people, there's I guess internal struggles that are going on in many shapes and forms, and it's not easy necessarily divulging those details to people around you, even those closest to it, being your sort of immediate family and friends, because I don't know. For I don't know, for guys especially, perhaps we're kind of seen to be the stable in the house, and the rock or whatever, the provider, and we're not necessarily so in touch with our emotions and our feelings about things, and it's kind of discouraged in some ways. But if I look at the way, I don't know how to describe it really. It's just, I don't like the situation, put it that way. And I feel like it would be great if people could come forward and say, hey, look, I'm going through this. And look, you're not expecting that other person to necessarily solve the situation for you. It's just an opportunity for basically to let go whatever's going on inside your head at that time.
I totally agree. It's something I had to fight through a lot. I didn't acknowledge it. Going through. So like I said, I had this whole turmoil, this internal turmoil and this public turmoil, being a bit more of a public face, being out there, my 9-to-5 day job. I'm trying not to get that affected. I mean, a lot of people with my 9-to-5 day job outside of the podcast, and again, weren't aware of it. So when I left my day job, I ended my contract, and 2 days later, I was actually going in for surgery. Wow. So when I left, and people were like, "Oh, you're leaving? Like, what's happening?" I'm like, "No, it's in my contract, but this is happening this was happening. I think it was a Wednesday. I'm leaving. I finished on the Friday. This is happening on Wednesday." And they're like, "Holy, shit! What? Talk to me about it." And then so you would. But it continued in that path. I still kept on keeping a straight face. I went to Tony Robbins in September, 5 weeks after surgery, or within, I think, within a couple of months after surgery, went in there, helping recruit and stuff. And you keep telling yourself, no, I'm fine. But you're still working through it. Yeah. You're still working through those moments, those down moments, those dark moments. And as you said, I didn't speak up enough about it. That male thing totally is there, trying to be proud and say, I'm fine, I'm strong, I can do that. But I think a lot of it came into it that it was so quick and so chaotic. It was 60 days from knowing something's massively wrong to going under surgery, that you didn't have a lot of time to process, and then you spit out on the other side. So then once you get over sort of that shock, I started processing it. I started trying to work through it. And then you find yourself wanting in certain areas. And because you don't want to be public about it, or you haven't really been public about it, unfortunately, the people that got the brunt or the badness from it was my family and my wife. Yeah. So they got the bad shit, to say that. I apologize on that, but they got the bad stuff. They got the negativity, the bad side of me, the hormonal side of me, because due to my brain tumor, I'm on hormone therapy for life, and I go up and down, almost like manic depressive in certain areas. And they were getting a lot of that because I hadn't worked through and acknowledged a lot of the problems coming into it. And it finally got to a stage that actually, beginning part of this year, I believe, a couple of months ago, so you're talking about, 6+ months, where there was a final realization from my side going, hold on, I'm pushing what is important to me away, because I want to publicly keep what I perceive is important to me close.
Yeah.
And I had to, and I pretty much came out publicly. I made a public announcement on my social media and to a lot of my friends that went. And because I'm quite a person that is quite busy in social media world, that was how I made my public announcement. Pretty much put my hand up and said, hey, this is what I went through. Some of you are aware of it and some are not, but fundamentally I am not okay. I'm not fully recovered. I'm emotionally not okay. I'm, just overall, I'm struggling. There's moments and that sort of stuff. And by taking that open step and going, hey, getting over that whole thing of, hey, I'm a guy, I'm fine, but going, I'm not okay. I put a lot of shock in the people that knew me. But also fundamentally then once they got over the shock, they turned around and said, hey, look, I'm here for you. You should have let me know. We should have supported you. I had people call me up straight away. I had people message me going, hey, dude, and that sort of stuff. And then you lose that whole moment of, hey, I should have, you lose that whole worry and stress that you put on yourself.
Yeah.
And have that realization of, I should have done this earlier.
Yeah.
I should have said something. I should have asked earlier,
I mean, it's hindsight, but at the end of the day, I guess what you did is you did put it out there. Yes, you could have done it sooner, but at the end of the day, you did, I'm going to say, take the courage and basically step up and kind of do that. And I guess, and like you say, you had that flood of support coming in, which to be fair is what you need at that time. People shouldn't have to struggle through these things by themselves. And it's just about, I guess, coming to that realization. What was there kind of a aha moment as such for you, or
what sort of moment? Excuse me?
Like a aha moment where it all, like something kind of clicked and you were like, I can't keep doing this.
It was a bit of a personal, moment between myself and my wife. I just, get to the stage of things weren't the way they should have been, so we going through all of that and going through the brain tumor and recovering and learning how your body reacts and the hormones. And, on top of that, I had a dilemma of being almost financially ruined because the fine print of my insurance wouldn't pay out on my critical claim. So I got to the end of the year and continuous stress on top of other situations. And it just came to the stage of where the two people that are most important, the two people in the situation, it's herself that should be the strongest, being the husband and wife or the partner or, the husband and wife, whichever way it should be. We weren't the closest, we weren't aligned and so forth. And it was that sort of moment going, hey, if things carry on down this path, things might not stand in 3 months or 6 months between ourselves. And it was that sort of moment that we went, hold on, this shouldn't be breaking us. As much as it hurts us to go through it, this should be making us stronger, and we weren't. And it was that sort of moment for myself, and and to go through it and in publicly go, because that's the only way I could see it going. I have to go all the way out. I have to say, I'm sorry. Publicly, there's something up, and that was the moment.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So I guess, look, there's still a process, obviously, that's going in the background. But what sort of steps have you sort of maybe been able to implement in the last couple of months just to kind of help you in that journey?
I think the big thing, and to me, it's always going to be a learning curve and working through it. You can't change drastically one moment and believe 12 months later you're going to be fine, or believe even 2 years or 3 years or 4 years later. And I think that's a sort of a realization that with a big pivot, in a lot of, in our world, I say do small pivots because you can control when you're doing small changes.
Yes.
But if with drastic changes, it takes time to learn that. And I think a lot of that realization was it was such a drastic change. I have to take it slowly and learn my steps and go through the processes of it. And give myself that time to learn how my body reacts, how my mind reacts, how like I say, my hormones react to it. And the medication I take, how that affects me in my life. So I'm still trying to focus on my day job, my contracting I do at the moment, as well as the work I do around the social media brand and the podcasting. But I've got to be respectful on, there's something behind me that every now and then, every few days or every few weeks, it's going to tap me on the shoulder going, if you don't respect me, I'm going to hurt you not in a painful way, but I'm going to remind you that I'm there. So it's sort of an example of, I went and tried to get a tattoo done. I've spoken about this before. Went in to get a tattoo done about my journey and so forth. And halfway through it, my body went into shock because of repercussions of my surgery and my hormones. My body actually went into shock, and I had to stop and try to get myself home. And these are the sort of things that I have to teach myself. You got to pay attention to the small things, and you got to respect them when they are trying to tell you. So like a lot of people used to say, you got to listen to the universe when the universe is trying to talk to you. I have to fundamentally follow that route in my life. If I start getting really tired, or if I start getting a bit edgy or cranky other than the normal, I've got to respect that and go, why is that happening to me? Is it because I haven't got enough sleep, or is my body out of sync? And then follow the extra steps so I can get to a stage that it's under control. And that might not be in a year or two, it could be 10 years or 20 years time, because as life goes on, things naturally change.
Yeah.
So I've got life changing as well as, body changing continuously.
Wow. Okay. that's a lot to take on. And yeah, like, I guess it's not something that just overnight you can say, okay, well, this is what it is now. And because, like you say, it's a constantly changing dynamic. I guess at this time, there are going to be people out there who are going through significant change. I guess you talked about, in hindsight, perhaps you would have shared your struggles sooner. What sort of advice, if anything, would you offer to someone who was going through some kind of internal struggle, be it health or otherwise at this time?
Obviously, at this time in our lives, where we are in the day-to-day in society, we have more than just health, wealth, and our career struggle. We've got something out of most of our control that's trying to beat us all in the wider world. The society, the COVID-19 and so forth, in the timing we are in our current lives. But the one thing is, most people, you'll be surprised at how many people are actually struggling in some form at all stages. Now, it doesn't mean that my struggle is bigger than yours. It doesn't mean that yours is, more peculiar, strange, different, anything else. But the biggest thing that if I could do differently was, to talk about it, to be open about it, but also for anyone else that's listening out there and going, we are all special. It's funny, I always say that, I'm not unique, and therefore why should other people have to listen to my ununique story? We need to lose that sort of chip that's embedded to us, that going, we are one of 7 billion. Yes, you're one of 7 billion, but you're the only one of 7 billion. There's no other person like you. So we've got to learn that, be willing to speak openly, but we've also got to try and make sure that we've got that 1 or 2 points of contact. That if the public way is not the way, that we've got the 1 or 2 people that's close to us, friends, family, even if in the sense of it has to be a counselor, someone that can in the medical field that can help you through that we can reach out and talk. Because I've got people in my network circles that have challenges and problems and struggles, and that go through bad stuff, and have gone through it. And we've got a bit of a network from ourselves from that, and we reach out once a week or twice a week, and we can bounce and go, hey, I'm in a bad situation, I'm in a bad spot, and we talk through it. We talk through it ourselves, and we get ourselves under control, and it just helps and so forth to move forward.
That's awesome. That's really good. And you look at some people out there and they've succeeded in life, and you think, oh, they've got things so easy, but at the end of the day, they could very much be putting forward this public profile, which really doesn't describe what's happened to them in the background at all. And yeah, it's very easy to kind of judge on the surface without looking at things a little deeper.
I was one of those people that judged. Being judgy or judgmental is unfortunately one of my things that I own on my shelf, or that's part of my bit of my DNA that I have spent a lot of years trying to get rid of. And before this, I was definitely that. I was like, look at that person, look at his success. He's had it so easy. You know, he's likely silver spoon child brought up, no challenges in life. And then this curveball comes, and your perception just totally changes. And I've tried to work hard in the sense of going, never judge, never look at someone and make that judgment call. Never look at the person that has the full success that you think, and because you don't realize what could be going on. You don't realize, is that person suicidal? Is he suffering from depression? You know, has family members just passed away, and all you see in this is this outside world, because that is there, that exists. I was, you know, in that sense, I put on a total outside face that was totally different to my inside face. Where I was at home in my personal space was literally totally on the opposite spectrum to who I was when I was speaking, recording podcasts, or even at work. And so people, you go, oh yeah, he's all cool, but not realizing that there's a little bit more there. There's a little bit more deeper.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, I kind of, I mean, I sort of think about my own situation. Like last year, I went through sort of some difficulty from a financial standpoint, made some bad investment decisions. Work was kind of unstable, and I was sort of, the property was, we had mortgages and stuff to pay. And I basically, I kind of shut down. Basically, I just stopped doing anything. And it was, I mean, while I wasn't talking to my wife, she could pick up on what was going on in the background, and then the stress I was under. And it got quite tense there for a bit as such. And then there was just one day where I kind of just sort of thought, I need to start taking action. And so I just, made that day the day that I was going to do something about it. Because, you know, we too often we try and take control of things that we have no control over. And at the same time, we don't take responsibility for the very things that we can control. And it sets us up for failure, unfortunately. But once I moved forward, and then obviously started to reach out again to people I had around me, maybe not quite as publicly as yourself, but then in the same way, people sort of offered that support to me. I mean, recently I've lost my job, and I've kind of announced it publicly, and a lot of people have kind of reached out and said, hey, look, you're doing okay. Is there anything I can do for you? Look, I might know someone who might have a role. And, you know, that's great. And I kind of think right now there are tens of thousands of people who are potentially in that same boat, who might not be reaching out to people and asking for help. So I have actually set up a page on Facebook for people if they want to connect up on that. It's COVID-19 Unemployed NZ. I think that's the one. I'll check on that and come back to you. But again, look, if people want to join up on that, I appreciate it. It's a public forum. It will be private. It's not about judgment. It's just about if people are struggling at this time, and they want someone to listen, that there are people there who can do that for them.
That's awesome. I love that.
Hey, listen, well, I'm happy to leave it at that, but listen, thank you very much again. You've been very open and honest and genuine, and I think there's a lot of people who are going to be able to resonate with the message that you've been able to provide tonight. And I do hope that it can make a difference in a lot of people whose lives may be in a bit of a struggle at this time.
Thanks much, Matto, for that. You know, just one last thing for myself. Yeah, if anything that's in a struggle, or anything that you're worried and uncontrolled about, there's people out there that have gone through it, not directly or similar, but there's a lot of people that can help. I say openly to anyone I talk to, if you just need someone to talk to, if you want to reach out, you know, struggling in the same situation, please just contact me. I'm happy to have phone calls. I don't care what time of the night or day it is, and because I've been through that. I've been through those moments and had those challenges, and I know what it feels like. But if you know that there's someone that's unjudgmental, that will just literally listen to you, it's an amazing feeling. So please, don't hold it in, don't hold it back. We will all, as a unity and a group, will get through it in a better state.